Well, Mark Sanchez, a couple years ago, before he did Fox Sports analyst games, called me and we talked about, how it would go. And Mark really studied for it, so he had a great year last year being an analyst for Fox Sports and NFL games. And it's a lot of fun. He loves it. You've got great perspective. You have great perspective on a lot of things. You were a celebrated college quarterback. Then you went to New York. By the way, 4-2 in your playoff career with 9 touchdowns, 3 picks, and a 94 passer rating. I remember that. You were very good. You played with a defensive coach. So there's Rex Ryan. So there's so many things in your career that are fascinating. And a lot of them today, I'm curious. So you are there was a stat is you came into the NFL and you won your first 3 starts. Did you not? As a rookie.
Correct.
Okay. That doesn't happen. So I got Anthony Richardson. I got Bryce Young. I've got C.J. Stroud. When you go back to those starts, I remember the first one. You had a big third down throw, a really big third down throw late in the game. But how nervous were you? Are these guys, is Bryce Young going to be sitting there on the sidelines freaking out? How nervous were you?
I forgot to, I was so nervous. I forgot to wear my, I definitely don't think yeah, that's what I didn't tape my ankles, and I normally tape them for games, right? I feel like in practice, I don't know. I don't want to tape them for practice. I want them to get nice and strong during practice. And then for games, you just do a little extra. But I talked to Joe Namath before the game. My high school football coach, who was like a second father to me, was there. My dad was down there, so there's all this buildup, and then you got to go play a football game. And, oh, by the way, you got to try and win your first start on the road. And there's a lot going through your head, and it's funny because there were a couple of those plays, and it totally relates to Johnny Manziel a little bit, but where you extend a play and make something happen, and I'm pretty sure you're talking about one of those third downs, but we were awesome on third down. We were like 60% or something, or 55% on third down, which is great, and it just extended drives.
Yep.
Took time off the clock, got us points. And so some of those plays, like Johnny Manziel, when he talks about not watching film, like there's times when you drop back and there's just nothing available, right? And you got to extend the play. Well, the defense technically won, right? They had the scheme. They were in the right position. They were in their right gaps. Nobody's open, but you make something happen. And that's what Johnny Manziel does. You don't beat the scheme. You don't beat the defense. You beat a player who lost a guy in coverage. You beat a defensive lineman who got pushed just a little bit too far, and now you're up in the A gap and out, extending the play. So that's where, in a very small level and much less frequency, right? I'd only occasionally be able to do that because I was no Johnny Manziel athletically. But I think that's what he meant. And yes, all these guys are going to be feeling that pressure as rookies.
So it bothered me when he said he watched no film. It absolutely did. You and I talked before.
Not no.
You don't.
Zero.
When he said 0, I was almost appalled by it. What did you make of that?
No. So I think he was talking about he's not staying after late to watch extra tape. He's not bringing home iPads and have a setup at his house to watch extra tape on his laptop or whatever. But inevitably, when these plays get installed, you got to watch something, right? You know what color the other team's jerseys are. You have a pretty good idea who the players are. You'll know the big players at every level. If they got a stud D lineman, you know his name and number. You know the linebacker. You know at least one safety or corner who's probably their 2 best players or whatever, right? So when he says 0 film, I just don't think he meant he's making a concerted effort to watch extra film or bring stuff home or stay after meetings. But inevitably, just being halfway, having a low resting heart rate and almost comatose, you have a pretty good idea just because you're sitting in all the meetings.
Right.
Now, you can get away with that in college. You try that at the next level and you'll get exposed so fast because you got to remember, much less time on task in college. You got to go to class. Once you're in the NFL, football is your class. You're doing football all day, and then after football, you do more football. So those guys get smart really quickly, and if they're just continuing to grow and you want to stay right here, they just make it look bad.
Garoppolo, Dak, and Baker Mayfield, all sorts of interceptions in camp. Does it matter a little?
Listen, you don't want your quarterback throwing interceptions. However, I will say in training camp, especially the first week and a half-ish, the defense is so far ahead.
Okay.
Just naturally by the less intricacies and nuances and things that they need to have work right in their favor, right? Offense, you can never remember, and obviously I'm an offensive guy, but you can never forget. It's 11 guys got to do it right. If one guy screws up, the play's toast. Defense, you want 11 guys to do it right, but if 10 guys screw up and one guy makes a really good play, you're good. On offense, you can't get away with that, right? Unless you got Michael Vick and Lamar Jackson. You know, those guys cover up a lot of warts. They cover up a lot of protection issues. They cover up a lot of issues in general that are negative for your football team, but the defense is just generally ahead. Their calls are, you know, half the verbiage, if not less, maybe a quarter of the verbiage of the offense. And it's just go play, run, hit, and tackle, right? What did Coach Saleh say? It's all about blocking and tackling. I don't care. After he made the great, you know, analogy to the crow and the Eagles, you know, he's got these guys fired up, but then he brings them back to the basics. It's about blocking and tackling. And the defense inevitably is going to do it a little bit better early on in camp. By the end, the offense starts picking their end of the bargain up. And then by the end of camp, you're ready to just play some other team so bad so you don't start fighting your own players.
Yeah. By the way, Mark did such a good job for us at Fox doing the analyst work. He was a little nervous. He didn't quite know. He hit it out of the park. He's got tons of information. He's got it. Unlike Johnny Manziel, he's got a notebook right in front of him just doing a hit with me on television. He's doing all this studying. Okay, we only got a minute left. What did you make of the Hard Knock show? A minute. Anything you liked about it?
It was perfect. I think it did an excellent job of presenting and explaining and introducing the main characters, right? And a lot of this stuff could write itself because a lot of the off-season buzz on these guys, but it's exactly what you want. You get the great highlights of Aaron, you know, either dialing in one play or convincing the coordinator, hey, chuck it deep. I don't know if he's in Zach's ear and he's telling him exactly, you know, because I used to call plays on Hard Knocks. I had my one special drive, touchdown drive, I must add. Mark Brunell. Shout out Mark Brunell. So I loved it. I love watching the beginning of it. I love the analogies, the way people get to hear the coaches talk and how they really talk to their players. It's a good look at Aaron Rodgers, the big, great Aaron Rodgers, fanning out over Liv Schreiber. And I would have fanned out too because I always wanted to meet the guy because he's saber-toothed in freaking X-Men. So I'm like, that blew me away, and I'm a little jealous.
All right. Mark, you do such great work for us. Enjoy your last remnants of a vacation. We're going to put you to work here pretty quick, and you look great as always. Thanks, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
He made a great point there that I've never heard put that way. In offense, 10 guys can be perfect. One guy screws it up, it blows up the play. In defense, 10 guys can screw up. But if a Bosa comes from the end, beats his guy, you've got a winning play. And that's the difference. The defense is ahead of the offense. I will say this, the Dak Prescott interceptions, you generally get sideline views of practice in the NFL. You get some ends. Whoever shot that video in the end zone, that's really good practice video. And one of those was a really bad pick by Dak. Doesn't count, but it's something. Everything's something. Nothing's everything. Shady McCoy stops by. Justin Herbert 2, 1 down, 2 to go. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.